Hello there, and welcome to the very first episode of the donor-centric approach. This podcast is brought to you by MRP Donor Development, where we explore strategies to help nonprofits thrive by putting donors at the center of everything you do. I am your host. My name is Orlando Barros, and I am thrilled and super excited that you are here today. Whether you are an executive director, a director of development, just starting your career in fundraising and development, or just passionate about helping ministries and nonprofits make an impact, I believe that this is the podcast for you. This is our first episode. So as the inaugural show, our goal today is going to be to share a little bit of our story, why this podcast came to be, my particular passion and desire to share donor-centric strategies, hence the name of the show, and what you can expect from the show going forward in future episodes. Plus, spoiler alert, my goal today is also going to be to leave you with a few actionable tips and insights that you can start using right away, right after this show. So, without further ado, let's get started. A little bit about me, your host. My name again is Orlando Barros, and I am first and foremost a Christian, a Catholic, married to my wonderful wife of over 10 years, Patty, and we have 3 daughters. And as a matter of fact, the name of our company, MRP, that those initials actually stand for the first names of our 3 daughters. And I have been in the nonprofit world for going on almost now 12 years. And in my time in helping ministries and nonprofits, I have helped them obviously raise funds. But more importantly, I have helped them connect with donors, and through those connections, really fulfill their missions. Over the years, what I've been able to witness, which is the reason why we started this show, is that donor-centric strategies focusing on the donor's experience from the donor's point of view, it's really powerful, and it can really, really transform and change the entire mission of the organization. It can take you to heights that you thought were really far away previously. When you focus your fundraising and development efforts on what the donor feels and experiences, you can turn one-time gives into lifelong partnerships, and again, really transform the impact of your mission and your organization. I have seen that firsthand. I will be sharing some examples of that throughout the show, but this is really the why behind why we're here today. And you know, you would think that this is second nature. You would think that everyone does this, and it's not the case. I do think that I've been given a gift to connect with people. I started my career in business in sales, done a lot of different kinds of sales. And early on, I realized that I kind of didn't care about the product as much as I cared about the customer and what they needed. And through that just came repeat customers. So when I came into the nonprofit space in the fundraising and development world, I took a similar approach, and I found that to be super helpful. And I found that not everyone in the fundraising and development world uses the same approach. And throughout these almost 12 years, I've worked with all size and all types of nonprofits, big and small. And the one thing that I've seen that remains true across the board is that when you make donors feel seen, when you make them feel valued, when you make them feel like what's actually happening, what the truth is, which is that without them, your mission does not exist. When you make them feel, when you allow them to see that, incredible things happen. Through the donor-centric approach, this podcast that you're listening to for the first time today, my goal is to empower you, the listener, the nonprofit and ministry leaders, with the right tools, strategies, tips, and insights, but most importantly, the inspiration and motivation that you need to build stronger relationships with your donors. That's going to be the key that's going to help you transform your fundraising and development efforts. So, things that you should expect from this podcast would be interviews with nonprofit leaders and executives like yourselves. Every show will have actionable steps and strategies that you can use right away. And we're going to be bringing you real world stories, things that actually are happening today that are helping other organizations thrive, that you can use yourself to make your mission and your ministry, your organization thrive as well. So again, I'm so glad and excited that you're here, because I think that we can make a difference together. I did promise you at the very beginning that from the get-go, we're going to be sharing some tips and actionable insights and steps that you can take. Let's now shift into that for a second and talk about 3 simple strategies that you can implement today to strengthen your donor relationships from the get-go. Strategy number 1, personalized communication. You would think, or some of you listening to this would think, no, duh, everyone knows this. Let me tell you, not everyone knows this. And if they do, not everyone is doing it. And if you are doing this, sometimes, because I've been here, we take this for granted. So let's talk about personalized communication first. One of my favorite things to talk about in the development world, particularly when talking to donors. Let me set the scene for you. Have you ever received a generic email that felt like it could have been sent to anyone? You can sense it and feel like it was probably AI generated, with a bunch of fluff, a bunch of stuff that really doesn't say anything. You've gotten those. You probably got one of those today. Donors feel the exact same way when we send them similar emails. They get the exact same response, like, this says nothing. It doesn't involve me. I don't feel part of it. Ignore, or even worse, delete, or not even open it. Just click on the little checkbox and delete it right away. What's really important here, when you're sending out these emails, or any kind of email, is knowing your audience. Are you sending an individual email, one-on-one? That's a lot easier than a mass email. But if you are sending mass emails, understanding your audience goes a long way. So already segmenting the recipients and knowing who they are is going to make a huge change in the content of the email. So if you are sending, for example, if you're sending an email to people who gave to a capital campaign in the past, referencing the fact that they gave to the capital campaign is going to be super helpful. If you're sending the email to monthly donors, mentioning the fact that you're grateful for the monthly support, super helpful. If you're sending the email to lapsed donors, mentioning the fact that they had given to you in the past and that you would love for them to join you again, is going to make a difference, right? Making sure that you're making the right references, whether it's past donations, whether it's programs they supported, or whatever the case might be, already sets the stage for them to feel or see themselves as individuals, as partners in your missions, not just people who just simply write checks to you. Tip number 1, remember to personalize your communications always. Tip number 2, consistent stewardship. Now, you may think, we all do this. No, we don't. We all know how to do this, maybe, but sometimes we take it for granted. This is the beginning of the year in 2025. We just went through probably our busiest time of the year with the holiday season and the end of years. Guess what? We don't have to wait until the end of the year to reach out to donors and helping nonprofits or ministries. It's overwhelming sometimes to see that so many of us wait until the end of the year to reach out to donors. Something that you can do now, particularly if you're doing this, if you're doing things correctly, you're probably now thinking of sending thank you letters for end of year campaign or tax letters if you're in the U.S. before January 31st. This is really a good time to plan out what your year is going to look like in terms of stewarding your donors, especially those who have given in the last 12 months. This is the right time to build a plan to connect with your donors regularly. At the very least, especially if you're talking about major donors or possible major donors, once a quarter, it's a nice rule of thumb to have, with whether that is updates or thank you calls or even handwritten notes. The point here is that consistency is king. And it's particularly important to build consistency when trying to gain trust and trying to build loyalty from your donors. We all hate it when people just reach out to us once a year to remind us that we need to give. So if you hate it, if I hate it, why are we putting our donors in that difficult spot? Let's use the entire calendar year or your entire fiscal year to your advantage. Let's use the fact that this is a long race, not a sprint, it's a marathon. So use the year to your advantage, and throughout the year, make consistent approaches and outreaches to your donors. Use real, impactful stories happening in your mission today to your advantage. You have probably heard this before many times, and you've probably heard it because it's true. People give to people, not to programs, not to buildings, not to organizations. So a great way to connect with real people, because your donors are real people, whether they are billionaires or multimillionaires or just your average folk, they're people. And they're going to connect with stories of individuals who are real, whose lives have been changed by the work that your ministry or your organization is doing. Make sure that you have real stories. Now, I know some of you take the privacy of those you serve very seriously. No problem. I'm not saying use their real names or whatever, What I am saying is, if you have to flip out names or or change scenarios, as long as the story is real and as long as you can connect to the story, a donor is going to be able to connect to that story. So make it personal. Make it emotional. You don't have to make it more emotional than it has to be, as long as it's real, and make it donor focused. Because of you, we have done X, Y, and Z. Because of you, we were able to provide 1,000 meals last year. We were able to provide 2,000 pairs of socks. John's life changed because of you. Tara's children are now better off because they're not hungry. Share the story of one person whose life was changed by your mission, and you're gonna have many people supporting your organization. Again, these strategies may seem simple, may seem like everyone knows them. Maybe they do, but I'm telling you, we're not using these strategies to the best of our advantage. We're not using them to make sure that our approach is centered around what our donors can help us do. And when we do that, the impact of our relationships with our donors is going to be deep. It's going to be profound. So here's my tip. Try implementing one of them this week. And I'm telling you, from the get-go, you're going to see a difference. Whether that is introducing a story to your next email blast, whether that is making a plan for individual stewardship of your donors, or whether that is making that switch from dear friends or hey, partners in mission, to actually using people's first name and segmenting who's receiving your communication. I'm telling you, things are going to start to change. That's my tip for this week. Now, before we come to an end and before we wrap up, I do want to invite you, found this exciting, if you found like this is something that you've been waiting for, this is something that you can use, I want to humbly ask you to consider taking the next step. If you feel like you're ready to dive deeper into donor-centric strategies that are tailored to your mission and to your organization, don't wait for the next episode to pop up. Go ahead and schedule a one-on-one call with me. It's not going to cost you anything, and it may lead to huge results for you and your mission. So the way to do that is to simply visit our website at www.mrpdonordev.com, as in MRP Donor Development. mrpdonordev.com. And just my Calendly link is there. Just click that link to schedule a call, because I love to connect with you. I love, whether you are a listener or whether you found this on social media, I love to connect with you and hear about the great and amazing work that you are doing, and perhaps see if we can help you further. Again, before I go, I want to say thank you. I am incredibly grateful that you are joining us on this journey. I truly, from the bottom of my heart, I'm super excited about what's to come, what we're going to be doing through this podcast, what we're going to be bringing you. And I can't wait to share more insights and stories and strategies, to hear from you of things that you are doing and how you are changing the world in your missions. So I'm looking forward for the next episodes, for what we're going to bring to you. If this is your first time here, again, don't forget to subscribe so that you don't miss an episode. And if you found this helpful, share it with a colleague or share it with a friend who may find this helpful as well. I'm grateful for you, for all of you. So until next time, remember, your donors are at the heart of everything that you do, and they're the reason why you're successful. Let's put them first and see what we can do. Take care, and God bless. You're the best. See ya. 1, 2,